If you ever want to experience a test of your own idea of self-worth, do what I did this week. My wife took me to a business networking session. It's where you're there with other entrepreneurs and business owners and people representing their business. And one of the things that happens is almost immediately as you get there is that a person comes up to you and they ask the question, what do you do? And you look on most of the time you have a badge, something like that, hello, my name is, and hey, how are you, Mark? What do you do? And then when you give your response, what happens is usually one of three responses. Their eyes glaze over. They look across the room and find somebody else a little more interesting. Or they say, tell me more. And then you get into a conversation about that and business cards get produced and then they go on about their merry way and you go on about your merry way. But the thing of it is that the question, what do you do, really is what do you do and what is it that you can do for me or that I can do for you? And if you don't quite fit what that person thinks that you can get your feelings hurt. Because some of them will be gone so fast, it will make your head spin. And so I was standing there in the midst of the room and people were coming up to me asking me what is it that I do, and I would try to say that and tell them that. And the thing of it is, I realized that in this society we live in a community and a place in which what we do very often takes the place for who we are. And so when we go not only to business networking events but to parties and other social events, or when you meet somebody for the first time, that's usually one of the first questions that they will ask you, what do you do? And if we're not careful, we can get caught up in thinking that's who we are. After all, people, they will talk about what it is that they do and we will go on and on about that. And one of the things that always got me is if you ask a person this, and I know nobody in here will say that, but they have a word that they will use. We'll say, what do you do? They'll say, retire. And I used to always, when I would do, and I know Carol is celebrating being retired, she's got that look on her face right now. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. But I remember when we used to do church talent assessments, and that would be one of the categories that people would put down retired, and I always go, retired from what? All of those things. But because we are constantly given and programmed with the idea that it's about doing. But we are not human doings. We are human beings. Ultimately, we are spiritual beings, having a human experience. But we can get so caught up in thinking that it's about what we do. And even this, because I think that a more important question to ask, and it's a little bit more challenging. That question is, who are you? Who are you? And again, the temptation, though, is to go back and answer that question in terms of doing. Husband, father, minister, teacher, life coach, web designer, other people. But ultimately, it's still about doing rather than about being. And being is a bit different, and it's where I want to get at today when I talk about being oblivious to the spiritually obvious. Because we are beings. We are divine beings. And a part of that is that when you really want to answer the question, who are you? I think a good part of that is to use the phrase, I am. I am. I am John Gilmore. But the thing of it is that we have to also look at the fact that in our teaching, You will hear oftentimes teachers say that I am is God's name. And I really like to think more of it is that I am is a declaration of reality as opposed to God's name. And the reason why I say that is because when we get caught up with the idea of names, for me, there's an element of control with the notion of name. If I am is God's name, then there's a type of wanting to control, a sense of controlling God. And, we have pets that, we give them their name. And the thing of it is that if you really realize it, all that is in that pet is sound. But if we say it over and over again, they start to associate it with good things, and then they will come, and then we will say they know their name. Except if it's a cat. Then you're on your own. They decide to bless you with their presence. Then there you have it. But the idea of a name, and then we use it to control the animal, if you will, and call it by its name. And if we're still getting them used to it and they don't come, we will be embarrassed and say, our friends, they haven't learned their name yet. But then we take symptoms and we go to the doctor for the doctor to give it a name. And once they have a name, then they have a protocol that goes with that name to control whatever it is that is happening. And so, people ask you, what did the doctor say? What did they tell you you have? And they're looking for a name. Oh, well, I have bronchitis. Oh, I have whatever it might be. But again, the idea of name being able to control something and to gain us control, I'd like to look at it a different way. And if we remember that story where Moses is again going back to the same situation, the scene that I talked about on another Sunday, when Moses was there on the backside of Mount Horeb and encountered the bush that was burning, if you will. And again, as I said, that what Moses really was happening was seeing the energy that was emanating from the bush. But when he has this conversation, if you will, with God and asks God, who shall I tell them sent me? And the Hebrew that comes out, and the notion there is, we translate it is, I am that I am. And it can also be translated as, I was that I was, and I will be what I will be. And I like to say that ultimately what was happening there was God was saying, okay, I'm going to tell you something, but ultimately I'm not controllable. I'm beyond controllable. So rather than having the notion that we can control and make God do this and make God do that, I like to say that when we say I am John, I am Tony, I am Sarah Jane, I am Rena, I am Philip, I am Margaret, I am whatever your name might be, what is happening in that moment is that you are stating that you are stepping into linear time and sourcing yourself with the all source, the all-knowing, the all-encompassing, the all-being, that you are establishing that you are that divine connection there in that moment, and you are lining yourself up with the power that creates worlds, that creates universes, and you are making a bold declaration when you say, I am John. And it's not about control. It's about being in the divine flow in such a way that when things happen around us, rather than us getting in the place, in the space of thinking that I've got it all by myself and I have to do it all by myself, you ultimately are saying to yourself that I have something that is a part of me that is greater than whatever is facing in front of me. If you remember the movie The Lion King, when little Simba was out there in the plains and he was where he wasn't supposed to be with his friend Nala, and they were running around, and then he encountered the hyenas that were coming to him and everything, and then he decides he's going to be, this really bad little cub, and he's going to roar them off. And so he makes the first couple of roars, and the hyena laughs at them. And then, Then he says, okay, this time I'm really going to do it. And he really lets go. And as he does, he hears a much bigger sound. And ultimately, the hyenas turn and run. And he thinks he's done it by himself. And ultimately, he turns around and sees that his father, Mufasa, is standing behind him. And in that moment, there's a connection, which is what happens with us. That when we face the hyenas and the other things of life, and we think that we have to do it on our own, and we've got to pull on whatever resources we think we have, the idea that we have to get a hold of and remember is we've got something, as we like to say in science and mind, back of us, back of this, that is larger and greater and more powerful than any appearance that could appear before us. When we understand this, then we're getting and grasping what it is. In this class that we are doing, that we just started this last week, there was a part in reading the book that I got really excited about. And that is, a lot of times we talk about setting our intention. And I set my intention that one day this is going to happen for me, and one day I'm going to see this, and one day I'm going to experience that. And drawing on what we know from quantum physics, what Penn Prout reminds us is that the moment we set our intention, it automatically appears. It automatically appears. It automatically is there. We say it's already done in the mind of God. What we're talking about is that as soon as we set the intention, the possibility, the field of potentiality opens itself up. The reason why we feel like we still got to wait is because we're caught up in this notion of linear time. Well, it's going to take a little bit of time for this to happen and that to happen and those kinds of things happen. And what happens is we still become oblivious to what is going on. And we use the example of driving to Openheart. And if you have a regular route that you use to drive to Openheart, a regular route that you use to go somewhere every day, and you get stuck in that route, and day in and day out, you go that same route, and pretty soon that route is etched in your mind that you might even sometimes say, I don't know how I got home, my car drove itself. What we don't realize when we get stuck in that way is that all of the things on the side of us, all of the neighborhoods and other roads and things like that are filled with people and buildings and opportunities and things like that. But because we've gone the same way, we don't realize it, we don't recognize it, we don't embrace it. It's there, but we don't see it, because what happens for most of us is that we think the same thoughts over and over and over and over again. In fact, it's been estimated that 95% of our thoughts are the same thoughts that we do day in, day out, year after year. And our brains get so focused on that and wired into that it's like a groove is cut into our minds and it's there. So when we say, I'm going to change, I'm going to do different, I'm going to be another person, I'm going to have this happen and everything to me, and we don't get there, the reason why is because it's so deeply ingrained that we have work to do. Charles talked about earlier about the application of these things, that we have to apply the principles and to do them over and over and over again till we get a new thought, till we get a new experience, till we get a new result. Because the point I want to leave you with is you're powerful enough to do that. You're powerful enough to do that. I mean, you don't have to have any kind of special way of doing this or that. You ultimately can stand in your truth and allow it to be. In other words, that you can say that as soon as I set my intention, I know that it's already there, it's ready to manifest. Here it is, I expect it, and allow it to be. Don't have to make it happen, don't have to be good enough, don't have to meditate enough times, don't have to come to Open Heart. Well, yeah, you gotta do that. But you don't have to buy my 10 Sept CD series in order to learn how to do this. Right where you are, right now, You're capable. I'm capable. We're capable. Sounds easy, doesn't it? And you say it sounds easy, it sounds good, but get your butts out the way.
Teach.
Because it is that simple. It is that easy. We live in a universe that conspires on our behalf and is already giving us all that we think we need and more. And you might say, but I've got this and that going on and all of that. We all do. But the fact that we've got our hearts beating, blood circulating, our lungs pumping, our eyes operating, ears, all of those things should just be encouragement. Should just be encouragement. The fact that we woke up this morning in this plane, in this place, in this space is evidence enough. The universe is working on it and is saying, I'm waiting on you. I want you to know that I'm here for you. Take a breath. It is in this moment that I feel the presence and the power, energy of the one mind, the one heart, love, intelligence of the universe flowing in and through this. I recognize it as I look out and see each and every shining individual that is here. I see it. They may not even feel it right now, but I see their glow. I see their essence. I see their magnificence. I see their godnificence. And I salute it in this moment. I take in the opportunity here and now to know that all is well. It's already done in the mind of God. And whatever it is that I am seeking, whatever it is that we are seeking, it's already there. That what we are looking with is what we are looking for. And in this moment, I know that all is well. I know that all is good. I know that all is God. And so I'm not oblivious anymore to what is spiritually obvious. I am. And I leave it at that. So it is.